All right, Court Jones. We are joined by you today. for people
Hello.
for people who might not know Court Jones, who are you and where have you been on all of our channel for the past, I don't know, what, like 10 years? How long has it been that you've been
Ye-
doing things with Proko?
Yeah, it's been about 10 years since my caricature course came out. I think I was actually the first guest instructor course on Proko back in the day. It was just Stan's courses, and then mine was the first that came out that wasn't Stan. So there was all these feedback on the comments on the YouTube like, who is this guy? This isn't Proko. What's going on? I don't like this. So I got to deal with that.
I sympathize. I also get this where it's like, where's Stan? We want Stan back. And I'm like, I'm sorry, guys. He's so busy.
Yeah, but
Um,
I work as a caricature illustrator and entertainer. I draw caricatures at events. I do commissioned work, illustration work for just various things, and I've been doing that for total freelance for like 25, 26 years actually, without having any kind of job. Before that, I worked in the theme parks. That's how I got my start in caricature. Actually, was drawing caricatures at like SeaWorld here in San Diego. And it was from those artists actually at SeaWorld that I learned about a local art school called the Watts Atelier. And all the people that went there were doing these amazing drawings that I saw in their sketchbook. And I'm like, okay, this is where I need to go. Because I went to college and got an art degree, but I didn't learn how to draw properly, to be honest. And so I started going to the Watts Atelier and taking classes. And I started teaching there, of course. And that's where I met Stan. He was a student there and eventually a teacher himself. So at the Watts Atelier, I taught caricature. I taught digital painting, portraits once, facial anatomy and expressions. I did some of the specialty classes at the Watts, and I taught there, again, for about 10 years or so. But now I just, again, work freelance doing my stuff in my studio and entertainment at events.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you also, correct me if I'm wrong. Do you have awards, Court?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, I think you're a caricature artist's caricaturist.
Yeah, every year, well, not every year, but for many years, I've gone to the International Society of Caricature Artists competition and convention. It's in a different city every year, and we get together, draw each other for like a week, take workshops, or I've taught workshops there, and we compete. We draw each other and put each other's caricatures up on the wall, and we all vote on different categories for like who's the best abstract caricature artist, who's the best black and white caricature artist, does this and that. And I won. Well, it's up here, I guess. This is the only thing I actually have out for that purpose. But the Golden Nosy. It's a big golden nose shaped caricature for caricature artist of the year.
I like that.
I won that in 2005, actually. So
I like that now I know about 3 gold things that are on your shelf.
yeah,
This is great. This Indiana
I
Jones
love
sculpture,
gold.
Triforce, and a nose award. This is good.
Yeah, I got my little Zelda Triforce here that I made a couple years ago.
It's perfect. So yeah, today we're going to be going over some of the principles that you use and some different techniques and styles that you apply for caricature. Some things that give you something of like a gestalt to get the actual thing started, give you a specific goal with a caricature rather than just going like, I don't know, Jack Nicholson with a big forehead. It's there's actual wisdom and ideas behind this that are also based in the same technical principles that someone might learn from like Stan's portrait course or in the future your facial anatomy course. So
Exactly.
yeah, we'll talk about that more a little bit later. But in the meantime, there is a poll in the chat here if you're watching this live to help us decide who Court is going to draw first. And I think that we do have a winner. So Court, would you like to start drawing?
Yeah. Well, let me first talk briefly about the exercises I'm going to do today. These
Sure.
are actual lessons from part 2 of my caricature course. Part 1 of the course is essentially how to do caricature for someone who doesn't know anything. It's the principles of exaggeration, and there's exercises, or I just show my process, the step-by-step breakdown of how I like to draw or how I teach people how to draw caricatures, where you break it down into baby steps. Then part 2 is exercises to help you become a better exaggerator, because so much about caricature is decision making, and it takes a lot of experience really to become better at caricature because of the decisions you need to make it actually funny. A lot of artists when they start out don't really know exactly what things to exaggerate, and these advanced exercises, I might call them, are ways to sort of trick yourself into drawing more exaggerated features, or to draw funnier exaggerations in general, or to get you in the mindset to help you organize your thoughts, in the case of one of the exercises.
Mhm.
And these are the things that I essentially do myself whenever I have a roadblock, or a mental block, I should say, in caricature, and I maybe sketch someone for a job, and I'm hitting a wall and I don't know what to do with them. I'll try a few different approaches or different exercises to get myself in a different frame of mind, because it's more about risk taking in caricature, and just going with your gut and trying to make those decisions actually work, because you're just rearranging the facial geometry in a way that still is true to the character of the person and the proportions. You're stretching the proportions, but in a way that is true to their likeness. And that's the main thing about caricature, is it doesn't have to be funny technically to be a caricature. I mean, because funny is really just a subjective term. The main thing is it has to be not a portrait, but it has to have a likeness. Likeness is king in caricature. So these are exercises to help you get funnier exaggerations while maintaining a good likeness. And the first one is actually one of the most useful ones that I think I have in the second part of the course, and that's creating a caricature checklist. And I based that exercise off of the idea that the caricature is done in your head. It's not done on paper. It's done through your visualization of what you want to do to someone when you're looking at the photo.
Mhm.
And the checklist is basically getting those thoughts down on paper in written form before actually drawing it. So you start analyzing it before you start drawing, and that just, again, helps you organize your thoughts and helps you give you a goal to achieve. So if you say, okay, this person I see has a bigger chin than average, I'm going to write down big chin on my checklist. This person's eyes are closer together than average. I'll put down close together eyes. Okay. Oh, giant ears, but the earlobes are really small. Okay. Like, I'll write those little things down. I'm just making notes for myself for things that I have to hit on in my thumbnail sketch or in my rough sketch. You can actually look at the checklist as your rough concept thumbnail, essentially.
Mhm.
And then you can go right into a rough sketch, because if you remember the first part of my course, there's like 4 steps to drawing a caricature. It's the thumbnail sketch, which is the concept, like how you want to exaggerate it. Then you take that concept and flesh it out in a rough sketch. That's step 2, where the anatomy or proportions may not be exactly where you want, but the likeness is pretty good. Then you will do a tracing or an abstraction of it to do all the physical corrections to the anatomy or to the perspective of the face. And then the final step is the finished rendering, the finished drawing. So I like to break it down like that. And the thumbnail sketch is essentially what you're skipping with this checklist.
Mhm. No, I like having that actual set of rules, or not a set of rules, set of like guidelines that you can apply, and then do something oppositional to that or in line with it. It's good. I like this idea.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to bring in your screen share so we
Okay.
can do. Oh, I brought in my own screen share.
Mhm.
I'm going to put yours in here. All right. Get in there. There we go. All right. So yeah, for this first one, the 3 options that we had in the live poll, we had Elvis Presley, Ariana Grande, and Julianne Moore. And the thing that you're doing is to go for this one is to go through that checklist, correct?
Yep.
All right. Who do you think won out of these?
Based on just the popularity and current status, I would say Ariana Grande probably won, but depends on the audience. Maybe not if the audience is older, maybe Elvis.
That's fair. We're definitely going to say that they're a bunch of old people. They all chose Elvis.
Oh,
I was
right.
curious. I think I messaged you. I was curious about seeing Julianne Moore and see how you would take her face in different directions. The Ariana Grande one, I would have liked for just also having Ariana Grande in the thumbnail after the fact. But let's do freaking Elvis.
Great. Well, I picked photos of these subjects that I think are the most exemplary that I had in my collection of what they really look like, or angles that portray their likeness in a really distinctive way that'd be good for drawing. And that's, for me, almost always a 3/4 view or extreme 3/4 view. Profiles are great, but they're not really called upon. You can't do profiles for most of your illustration work. They have to be like basically frontal views of some kind. And I found this great picture of Elvis, which shows his pompadour, which shows his really unique brow and nose structure. He has sort of this like Roman nose, but I'm getting into the checklist idea here, and I don't want to like go too far just yet.
Just dive into step 5 of the checklist.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's been a long time since I've drawn Elvis. I've drawn, I think, old Elvis, young Elvis, and older 1970s Elvis is fun too. But yeah, this young Elvis is great. Now, there can be certain things that are difficult about a younger, attractive face because they are usually closer to the statistical average, and it makes it harder sometimes to caricature. Um,
Hmm.
but with Elvis, I think he has a really unique profile, especially. So that again is why I like a side view or an extreme 3/4 view because it really brings out the differences from the average than a front view of Elvis.
Hmm.
Let's go ahead and make a little checklist here, and I'll type it, I guess, because writing is like not very. My handwriting's a little bad sometimes.
Yeah, you draw. You're not out here doing calligraphy.
Exactly. Let's do left. There we go. Okay. So what I do with my checklist is I usually go down the list as far as like how I think about it when I'm drawing, like how I start my drawing. The first decision is usually the head shape. So does he have a long, tall head or a short, wide head? Well, okay, so he's a little tricky because I think he has a like what we kind of call a boyish or a baby face,
Sure.
but he has this really tall pompadour hair, which is altering that. So I think it's a tall, long face because of the hair. Actually, if he had a different hairstyle, I might actually have a different answer to this. But let's say tall, long head. And I would say he has a just working down the head here. Of course, the pompadour. I just put that in because you can't forget that.
Yeah, it pops out. It would be like if you had Conan O'Brien as a caricature figure and you were
Yeah.
like, nah.
It's like you got to get that feature, and it's obvious. I'm not going to forget that, but I am making a list, so I want to be diligent here. He has a prominent forehead. It's like it sticks out further than the rest of his facial plane. And that's just going to be my note for that. I don't need to actually write an entire description of like, a whole sentence of describing his forehead, unless, if you want to do that for yourself, you can. But I just like to put a few words, just a word or two, to help me jog my memory as to what I saw about his likeness. Let's see. So he has, I would say, very deep set eyes under a heavy brow. And he has what is called generally like a Roman nose, which you sometimes see in Roman sculptures, where the bridge of his nose at the base or the root is very sticks out quite a bit. It doesn't recede into his facial plane; it sticks out at top. So it's he definitely looks like a Roman sculpture or like the statue of David or something with his nose shape.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I'd say heavy lids as well. Not so much in this angle. His eyes are kind of, his lids are sort of tucked up under his brow. But other photos I've seen of Elvis, just being familiar with him, I know he has heavy eyelids, like very prominent eyelids that give him sort of a that dreamy eye look. So even if he's not
a little sleepy.
Yeah, a little sleepy look. And I've read reports he sometimes wore eyeshadow, like to deepen his eyes. I don't know if that's really the case, but maybe. Let's see. So he has really pronounced philtrum.
That's this part here, just under the nose.
Yeah, the divot underneath the nose. I'd say deep philtrum. This is very exciting watching me do a list, I bet.
No, this is good. This is seeing how the sausage gets made. Would you say that? Do you write down characteristics? Yeah, this is exactly what I was going to ask about, because he's got that shape to his lips.
Yeah, more so than other people. He has these full lips. It's like pursed lips, or some. I think technically the scientific term is a tented lip, upper lip, where it has a tent shape. Some people call it a pronounced Cupid's bow lip, like Cupid's bow, because it looks like that shape, and kind of an overbite as well, with overbite, and fun little like ball chin. Just a single ball, not a double ball chin. Like, you might have a bit of a cleft there, but I don't see it as being very pronounced. And kind of a narrow jaw. It's not like a big wide jaw. Like I said, it's sort of a baby face. So he's like sort of like a child from the lower half of his face, more manly in the upper half of his face, I guess. And nothing distinctive about his ears or anything. He doesn't have high cheekbones. I'd say he actually has low cheekbones. And when cheekbones are low or high, that just means if they not how high they are up or down, it's how far they stick out on your face. So if you have high cheekbones, they're very pronounced, sort of like Willem Dafoe, you might say has high cheekbones because they really stick out and are very angular. But his are just just flat to his facial plane. They don't add anything to his cheeks or anything. Okay, and I think that's it for the prominent features that I would notice here. So I'm just going to put this list over to the side. Make this a little smaller, actually. Hopefully people can still read that. Just want it to be out of the way a little bit.
I mean, if they can't read it, they at least got to go through the whole process of it being written at a higher font size. Yeah. That's not that bad.
Yeah. So I'll keep the list visible while I'm drawing. If I was doing this, on my own without a live stream, it would be on a separate sheet, probably on a separate document, but I just want to keep it on screen for everybody here. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's start with the head shape. This is going to be my rough sketch, so I'm going to have a soft, grainy pencil here. I'm going to make it a little thicker, actually. When I do my rough sketches, I sometimes like to do like the equivalent of a soft, fuzzy pencil, just so doesn't feel quite so precise.
So is this by any chance your brush that you have made and that you sell in Photoshop?
Yeah, this is my brush set that I actually sell on the Proko website. These are the most frequently used brushes that I use in my drawings and paintings. There's about, 16, 17, 18 brushes in the set, which doesn't seem like a lot, but that's how I like to operate. I don't like to have a choice of like 500 brushes because I just get lost in the menu and I never remember what brush it was that I liked so much. So I end up, whatever brush sets I download from other people, I'll usually extract the ones I like the best into a smaller brush set if I'm using someone else's. But yeah, for today, I'm just using my own, which is a very small brush set.
Yeah, it's a well-loved one. I would say it's one that people, even though it's not like an insane brush set, you're not out here trying to like make like hyper realistic oil brush strokes or anything. It's this like dependable, very straightforward brush set, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, like I said, it's more about efficiency and what I actually use on my paintings without any extra like fancy special effects brushes, really. Just a few that give like textures, but yeah, it's the no nonsense brush set.
Yeah. So far, one of my favorite things in this chat has been a lot of people coming through, specifically knowing you and what you do. There's a lot of people who just hop in saying, "Hi, Court." Nice. And then we've got Patrick in here saying, "So excited for this one. Love Court's work." Where sometimes some people were doing a live stream and people are just exclusively asking questions entirely unfamiliar with the person. So it's nice. We have a captive audience.
Oh, excellent.
I do also have a question from a person who says that they spent 4 years drawing characters live. Mm-hmm. Do you want that question now, or do you want to talk about your process at this early stage?
At this early stage, yeah, let's focus on this because I think this is the most interesting part for people to see is the beginning. Like as I get the likeness more resolved, I think I can speak more to specific questions.
Yeah, sounds good. Feel free to dig in. I'll let you have most of the mic on this one, and I'll just answer some stuff in the chat.
Yeah. I would say drawing like rough sketches like this live in front of people is sort of it's risky because I don't know if it's always going to turn out. Like on the first attempt, sometimes it takes me several attempts to get a sketch that I like. But when it's for something like this, where I'm trying to show people proof of concept of a technique that works, if I don't get a sketch on the first try, it's a little stressful. Like I'm thinking about that, just so you know, right now. And I didn't actually do any warm-ups today, too. I probably should have done a warm-up. But this is the reality of caricatures, is it doesn't always come through on the first attempt. That's what this whole thing is about, is just you do iterations sometimes, multiple iterations before you get to the one that you think works. ideally you should be able to see the likeness in an early stage like this. And I kind of do. I think it's in the right area, but the specifics are not quite there yet. So what I think is happening, I want to actually raise the eyebrow here. His eyebrows aren't so close to his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that actually helped a bit. And I'm going to maybe set this eye back even further. Just looking at my caricature list here, my checklist, it has deep set eyes. So I'm going to put them even further back.
This is how Drake's eyes sit. To what you're drawing now.
Oh yeah.
Drake looks like the creature from that movie Splice, where his eyes are too far apart and too small.
I don't know the movie Splice.
Say again?
I don't know Splice.
It was a Adrian Brody movie. It's like it feels like one of those indie horror sci-fi films that like just about nobody watched. But I happened to work at a movie rental store at the time when it came out. So.
Oh, nice. Sometimes when I do stuff like this, I'll just select parts of the face and rearrange the features a little bit, just resize certain aspects if I feel like I can get a better, funnier exaggeration. Like if I want to make his forehead more prominent, I don't know if I necessarily want to. I'm just going to see how that looks with a larger forehead, maybe a shorter forehead. Hypertelorism, by the way, that's the technical term for wide set eyes.
I see. These are these terms that you already had in your arsenal, or did these come from your time working with some doctors and such?
Yeah. So I'm I guess you guys know, but I haven't really talked about it publicly. But I've been working with some scientists that are actually dysmorphologists that study facial traits in patients with genetic disorders and like developmental disorders. And a lot of these conditions can be diagnosed just by facial traits. Sometimes they don't have like molecular or genetic tests to confirm whatever disease it is. But these facial traits, such as wide set eyes, are a hallmark of a certain disorder. And so they asked me to do scientific illustrations of these syndromes in a caricature form, because I bring out the unique features of people. And I guess they think that the theory is that a caricature artist can actually see some of these traits better than clinicians or doctors who don't really necessarily study the face, even though they do study the face, but not the way an artist does. And so I've been doing lots of these medical scientific illustrations of these different genetic disorders. And so I've been learning all these medical terms for the actual changes, the differences in facial traits. Cynophorus is another one. That's when the eyebrows are joined together. When you have a monobrow, it's called cynophorus.
Interesting. Okay.
Prognatism. There's I don't know. It's not really coming to me right now. Usually as I draw a feature, then I'll think of what the term actually is for it. But
yeah, I mean, these are probably things that you also mention in that course that will come out later this year.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, I don't really like to talk about faces in terms of genetic disorders, but it is sometimes interesting to know that there is a name for these things that has been like written down in a book somewhere, and these things that caricature artists do instinctively or just react to, but maybe don't know necessarily that there's actually a proper name for them.
Okay. Yeah, I do love this opening stage.
I don't think the nose is working. I'm going to bring the nose out even further here.
It is interesting, as I wonder if the younger generation currently has as much exposure to more like cartoonized or parodied versions of Elvis's face as likeness in general. Because I think for me, I mean, I'm not young, so I was closer to a time when Elvis was alive, and we would see him get caricatured in anything, if that was The Simpsons, Animaniacs, so many different things. And for me, it's interesting to see the different ways that people choose to exaggerate him depending on their like sometimes narrative needs. They need him to be sometimes more like the older Elvis, sometimes the younger Elvis, sometimes just the more like, I don't know, seductive-ish Elvis.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see what gets played up for each of those necessary qualities for the purpose.
You
What
may
just happened
notice,
there?
I just did not like where that was going.
Okay.
And I don't want to spend too much time on each individual one, so we have time to get through everybody. But I didn't think that was salvageable. I don't know. I think I just fundamentally need to like change what I was doing there or come up with a slightly different take on it, because I have this list and there's lots of different ways to interpret this list. I can do a long, tall head, but that can mean lots of different things. It doesn't necessarily mean super skinny.
Mhm.
It usually does, but I think I might just try to bring it in more with the hair, make the hair even bigger, maybe make the head itself a little shorter and squat.
Mm. So I think number 1 or number 0 on the checklist now is do a warm up.
Yeah, probably.
That's what we've gotten so far. Right now, this looks like a crazy Yusuke Urameshi
Crazy
or
what?
something. Is a character, an anime character, is Yusuke, or I guess Kuwabara in this situation for the anime people out there. What do you have a favorite thing that you really like spending time on rendering? Because obviously you spend time pushing and pulling features, but there's got to be something in those finishing stages once you've hit the kind of likeness that you want that's the most fun for you to spend some time in. Is
Hmm.
there?
I won't say I really have a favorite feature, other than I like the features on certain people. Like I love like Christopher Walken's eyes. I love trying, when I draw Christopher Walken, he just has these great big bags under his eyes, and they're very odd looking. And yeah, so yeah, no, not any feature in particular that I like rendering or part of the drawing, but I mean, I think it's most interesting to do the initial sketch more so than the final rendering.
Mm,
Like I think it's more fun to like do the problem solving part of things, because that's where you get your success. That's where you get the high of drawing and having a success is in the is in this stage. I mean, you get another kind of high when it's finished, when it looks like something real and you've rendered it well. That's another type of like reward.
mhm.
But yeah, in general, I like the creative process more than the rendering process.
That's fair. I think that actually kind of goes back to the thing that we were talking about before the stream started. For Stephen Michael Hampton, he doesn't spend a ton of time doing some later rendering or anything, though he has that skill set. He likes the decoding part of it.
And so much of art is about problem solving, but really so much of caricature is problem solving more than just about any other type of art, because so much of it is just the artist's decisions. But you do get that if you're an artist who draws from imagination. If you're a concept artist or something, that's just all about you and what you're drawing. If you're just
Mhm.
if you're just doing portrait art or something, which I enjoy too, I like doing portraits. It's not as creative, but you just have technical problems you really got to solve about how to like how to manage your brushstrokes, how to be economical, how to compose it. There's all these different kind of concerns. But here, it's really the design itself that is so individual to the artist, and it's all about you and your own experience and what you bring into the table, than any other type of art, because it's so individualized. And so many different caricature artists have so many different styles, and that's what makes it sort of interesting. Is there's a huge range of exaggeration choices that you can make on a subject and still have it look like them. Like 100 different artists can draw Elvis 100 different ways, and they can all still look like Elvis. So,
Mhm.
just the weird thing about caricature, how that functions.
Yeah, I think. Do you think that the measure of success for likeness is just when someone can look at the piece and then know who this is? And does that hold even to average facial features?
Yeah, I think so. I think the success of a caricature really is mostly like 80% the likeness, and the rest is like exaggeration and then personal style, like how what rendering technique you might have used, or the medium, or how simplistic it is, or how realistic it is. Like I enjoy the realism of Kruger, but I also really super enjoy the uh, simple abstract shapes of, I don't know, someone like Philip Burke, who used to do a lot of illustration and caricature. Um, or my friends in Hawaii who do these like really famous like videos on TikTok and Instagram where they really roast the subject. They're
Uh-huh.
getting really popular. Like even like guests at events that I draw around the country, like are always asking, "Hey, do you know these caricature artists in Hawaii that do these really funny roasted caricatures of people?" And they love it, and they're just so ridiculous. And I'm like, yeah, they're hilarious. I enjoy all of that stuff. There's such a range of caricature to enjoy. Even if I don't want to draw like that myself, I really enjoy seeing it and enjoy the bravery that I see them doing in these live situations where they're just being really savage to the guests. But that's what people come to them now for, because they've made their name as doing that type of a really extreme caricature.
Hmm.
And so they can get away with it now because that's, again, what they're known for, and what they set up the expectation with their client base, like this is what you're going to get.
Hmm. Yeah, I think if someone sat down and they thought they were just going to get some nice memory of them and their husband or whatever, that's not the thing that they would want. They would want some, like nice little happy, maybe a little buck toothy kind of caricature. But sometimes people actively want the like, yeah, go ahead. I do slouch. Give me a hunchback.
Yeah, if anyone
Are
wants
you
to
a
check
person?
it out, one of them is a caricature party, I think, on Instagram and TikTok,
Okay.
and you can see
Yeah.
some really great examples of fun live caricature.
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and put that name here. It's spelled directly as you would
Yeah, I think
as
so.
you would think it would be. But just in case, there's that for everybody. Caricature party.
Yeah, for the live caricaturists out there, if you don't know them, you definitely should know them because it's very inspirational.
Mhm. The other thing I think that comes up a lot whenever we talk about caricature, and stop me if you've heard this one ad nauseum and you're tired of addressing it, but the idea that caricature doesn't have to be informed by any sort of technical knowledge
Mhm.
for anatomy or just art at large. Do you think that a person could reliably be able to do caricature without any of that knowledge?
Yes, it'll just take a lot of
Okay.
experience. And if you do your own thing and you don't necessarily rely on anatomy, if you want to draw more like Spumco style caricatures, like Ren and Stimpy, where it was just like these
Mm.
super cartoony style caricatures that you really don't have to know anatomical knowledge to do that kind of stuff. Now it helps. It always helps because knowing anatomy, knowing the right way to draw something, how something is really structured, does help you exaggerate it better in a more informed way. But if it's not, part of your chosen style, like how you want to draw, it's yeah. In caricature, it's one thing where you can get away without much anatomical knowledge. I'll say, but if you want to draw like me, I have a lot of reference to real anatomy in my caricatures, just because that's what I like to see. That's what I enjoy about caricature. I think is when it's done really funny and exaggerated, but in a really realistic way that looks like it could live and breathe and talk, or be sculpted in 3D and still look good from every different angle.
Hmm.
That's what I really enjoy most of all, and that's why I want to strive for that in my own caricatures. So yeah, I base all of my uh, style off of knowing good anatomy on the face.
Hmm.
Yeah, this is like this one's turning out a little better, I think. It's definitely a rough sketch. It's not quite figured out. I think he needs to actually have a bigger chin. He can look a little bit more grown up there with the. He doesn't have a diminished chin for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, actually
it's
that really helped.
yeah. He's got that like the fact that he's got the overbite, but then also the ball to the chin really offsets things.
Hmm.
It's an interesting combination.
And that's one thing I didn't actually illustrate very well. I didn't indicate as an overbite here, so I should try to get that a little bit more prominent. because it is in my list. And I wasn't actually looking at my list as much because I'm a little distracted. It's sort of one of those things where I think about all these variables here.
There's a bunch of people watching. Some person just asking you questions the whole time. He said, "This is not a conducive environment."
No, not live streams are not a conducive to like the best of my possible artwork that I could be doing. But I'm used to it. I mean, I used to drawing and teaching and talking while I draw, so it's not a big deal. But yeah, it takes a lot of juggling of multiple things here when you're doing a live stream.
For those who don't know, some of the things that you're talking about there is that you get hired to go do events. So let's say some business will hire you, and you're just going to be there, just chugging through caricatures as people walk up. Some person for this business event or some other types of events. Like we've talked about it a little bit here and there, but is there ever a type of event that you have to do that you're surprised they want caricature at?
Yeah, I've drawn at all sorts of events. It's generally pretty standard in corporate parties and receptions, weddings, bar mitzvahs, proms. But I've done some odd stuff like I talk about this actually every now and then. It's sort of my most unusual event that I did was a celebration of life ceremony. A wake, you might call it.
Interesting.
For a famous person, a celebrity. She was a televangelist in the 80s with her husband, Jim and Tammy Faye Baker.
Okay.
Yeah. So I drew a Tammy Faye Baker, or Tammy Faye Mesner at the time, her celebration of life in Palm Springs.
Interesting.
And there were some other celebrities that were there that I drew as well. That was kind of fun. She knew a lot of people. But anyway, I thought it was unusual to like have a caricature artist at a memorial service, essentially. But she, before she died, she wanted a party where all her friends were going to be together and be happy. And I totally get that now, actually. At the time, I was thinking it was a little unusual, but now I kind of get it as I'm older.
Yeah, I like the notion of getting people together for that kind of thing. I don't think I would have caricature at one, but there's a lot of things that Tammy Faye Baker did that I wouldn't do, so that's fine. So we have some other there's some other comments and things here in the chat that
I can take them now. I think I've gotten a place where I'm pretty happy with the exaggeration choices. I think it looks pretty good. Looks like them. So yeah.
I would agree. And I like that you have some stylized rendering for the hatching in there, the cross hatching. This is good. So the first question that I had kind of talked about a little bit earlier, this is from Carlos Rue in the chat, who's always here. He asked, I've spent almost 4 years drawing caricatures live, so I always resort to the first shape I see. Now, if I were to do caricatures, wow, there's some wording stuff. How do I fight the first idea or variations of the same? They're saying that they identify a big shape and then just lean into that. Do you think there's anything that you do in particular, or would you say they're taking the right path?
In my experience, when you're doing live quick sketch, your first instinct is usually the right one. And if there's a problem with it, it's just where it doesn't work out as you draw it. It's probably just an execution problem, not a concept problem. Like I think the instinct is usually good, because when you second guess yourself in live caricature, that's when I think you get into trouble and make it harder on yourself. Like when you start considering the subject's feelings, like are they going to like this? Oh, I'm drawing the face too fat. I don't think they're gonna. I don't want them to be mad at me. Maybe okay, I'm gonna. If we're working digitally, maybe you can actually slim it down and erase it as you're going or something. But I never recommend doing that. Just go with your initial gut instinct, because it's probably the right one, especially if you've been doing it longer for a couple of years like you have. And it's just a matter of maybe your hand wasn't doing exactly what maybe it should have been doing, but the idea, the concept behind it was probably the right one. And also think of the face holistically too. Like he said something in the question about a single feature or something that grabs their attention.
Yeah, right? Like the first like big shape. So like let's say there's like a predominant like triangle to them. I think that they would lean into that.
Yeah. So and I would agree with that too. It's sometimes there's a single thing that like kind of really sings, or a dominant trait they have, like that's directing your exaggeration, but don't fall into the trap of just exaggerating one quote unquote feature. Don't just give a a regular portrait face with a big nose, because a lot of people, like, that's the most common thing, the misconception that I hear over my shoulder or people ask me when I'm drawing them is, oh, a caricature, that's when you pick one feature and make it really big, right? That's what a caricature is. Like, oh God, no, please. That's so like reductive and insulting, to be honest. No, you're rearranging all of the shapes on the face. You're not picking one thing and exaggerating. You're exaggerating the entire face. You're exaggerating all the features in relation to one another. It's a juggling match. It's stretching and squeezing and compressing. It's all of those things. So yeah, if anyone's drawing just a portrait face with one single thing that's grossly oversized, that's not caricature. That's not exaggeration. That's what I call distortion, or a mistake. Essentially, it's not.
I see.
It's not the truth. Caricature is heightening the truth, and distortion is just lying.
I like this. I like this. What do you do if the person has no distinguishing features but the one giant nose? If they just got a schnoz?
Well, that could be the case. There are people that I have real trouble figuring out what to do with them, and if I have the luxury of time, I'm working at home on a sketch. It's a commission. I'll usually dig around until I find something more of interest besides the single big nose, because people do have more than that, and it's like, I think it's. I don't want to say lazy, but you got to dig a little deeper if you can't see anything beyond just one single feature that's distinctive about the person. But if you really can't find anything about them, just default to stereotype as far as their age and their body type and whatever. So like, for children, for example, sometimes children are really hard to draw because they're not as distinctive yet in their look. If they're younger, most like babies look alike, for instance. They almost look all identical until they start to get a little older, and then people become more distinctive. So I would just heighten the traits that make them look like a baby, quote unquote, which is the classic Disney look of like the big cranium, big eyes, low set features on the face, low ears. And you're going to get a sketch that most people are going to appreciate and like. But sometimes there's that one thing. Maybe it's a particular expression they give. Maybe it's a really happy baby who has their mouth open like all the time. You give them a big happy open smile. But some babies are more sullen, or maybe closed mouth, with pursed lips. And so when you do stuff like that, they'll say, "Oh my gosh, you totally captured his character. He's laughing like that all the time." So you have to be a real observer in the moment and really connect with your subject. Maybe get them to relax a little bit and get them to open up. And even if it's a baby and they don't understand you, you can just do your little like, hey, wave or whistle or snap or whatever it is. And whatever their natural personality is will tend to come out.
I think that makes sense. Yeah. Do you think that there's one caricature artist out there who just makes everyone feel uncomfortable? So all of the people in their drawings are uncomfortable people. They just have this uncomfortable expression.
No, I don't know anyone in particular that's does anything super consistently, like as far as that goes. But I don't work with a lot of artists anymore, like side by side, other than at events. And we all kind of just draw kind of a fun, cute party style. No, that's not true. There are a couple artists I work with that are really, really fun at exaggerating. No, everyone generally has good reactions to their caricatures, no matter how funny they are. Like the person next to me at an event that's drawing super exaggerated cartoony sketches, and I'm drawing more tame ones. Honestly, we both get good reactions. And the guests will sort of line up behind the artist's style that they like the best. Like if they want the really cartoony sketch, they'll go to the guy next to me.
Sure.
If they want a little more subdued, a little more realistic character sketch, they'll come to me.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of cool thing about having a lot of artists at an event that have different styles. Okay, I think I spent probably enough time on this guy here. It definitely needs some refinement, but I'm pretty happy with it. I think it's decent. I would definitely want to do another iteration, maybe a tracing on this, because the anatomy is really it's funky, and the likeness could be resolved a little better. Like I'm not happy with his nose, but generally I think it's a pretty decent first rough sketch on Elvis here, and that's as they say, them's the breaks. In caricatures, it's usually the first couple ones are they're not quite there yet, but you just refine it, going through these processes. And what I would do is follow like the first few steps of my caricature course, which is after this, I might either redraw it or just do a tracing of this, where I'm trying to correct things and maybe do an abstraction on top of it. Or I might even flip it in reverse to see some of my drawing errors that are probably pretty obvious that I'm not seeing. Because as you draw a caricature like this, you tend to get face blind to real bad problems or misalignments. Like something I might notice, like just right now, is, oh, you know what, the ear's too high. And that's something that would be really noticeable, I think, if I flipped it around. But I can see right now it's too high. It doesn't line up right with the nose. It just needs to go just a little lower, like that.
I get you. Yeah, just to maintain that kind of proportional placement below the eye line for him.
Yeah, but this is I think the most critical part of the caricature. It's the decision-making process where all the exaggeration choices are made. And it's less interesting now. If I were to refine this, it's a little more boring. So I think this is a good place to stop on this particular sketch, showing how I do the using the list here. And I didn't go point by point on my list here, but I was keeping it in the back of my mind. You know, the deep philtrum, the heavy lids, the Cupid's bow lip, narrow jaw, low cheekbones. So yeah, I think I got it all in there. But yeah, doing the caricature list was sort of like these things that I had to check off. And if I was having trouble in my sketch, like, why isn't it looking like him? I would refer back to my written list and say, oh yeah, you know what? I didn't give him heavy enough lids, or the eyes aren't deep set enough. So let's move the eyes over a little bit. So it's a way of keeping yourself on track and focused. So I really, really like this exercise because it organizes your thoughts and helps you stay on track when you get lost in the mire of the rough sketch.
No, I think the list is definitely a good practice, and it's a common theme, I think, among a lot of people who have specific types of media that they work in. We also just recently had a checklist for someone who was doing concept art, environment design. So I like these things emerging. So yeah, like you were mentioning, you have a course. We've talked about it a good amount here so far. It is currently 20% off. I'll just mention that here at this 46-minute mark of the stream. You can get that for 20% off, but that is not the only thing that you can get from Court. You can also get the brushes that he's using here today. I recommend it, and so did everyone else in the chat already. So, nice. Do you want your next subject?
Yeah, let's get on to the next one.
So I started your poll. This one that we're going to be doing here, this is with your opposition sketching exercise. And I put this forward. The options were Rob Lowe, Daniel Radcliffe, or Morgan Freeman. Who do you think won this one?
Probably Morgan Freeman, I think, because he's just so cool.
You nailed it in one. Yeah. Morgan Freeman, 56% of the poll. So that's going to be our subject for now.
Yes.
What's the exercise? What is the opposition?
Well, this is when this is particularly helpful when somebody you're drawing has a really difficult face, or if they're closer to the average and you can't figure out what to do. Like what you brought up earlier, like when someone has a very normal face, how do you get over that? Well, when you're doing stuff in the studio or sketching like I'm doing here, you're not in front of people. You can bring two faces side by side to compare them to see how they differ. Because like Morgan Freeman isn't a face I would say that's very super close to like the average that you might see in a art instruction book. You know, he has very unique features. He's very unique likeness. So he's not necessarily a problematic face in the sense of like, oh gosh, what do I do with him? I would say someone like Rob Lowe might be, because he's closer to that, you know, quote unquote average that we see in art instruction books. But he does have some unique features that actually make him stand out. But the cool thing about this is I do need to bring out another photo of someone to compare Morgan Freeman up against to do this exercise, because you're basically drawing two people side by side, or drawing one but referring back to the other face as a reference point to show how like the subject you're drawing differs from that other person. So let's grab like Daniel Radcliffe, since it's a very similar angle, since he was, you know, also in the poll here. I don't think I'll be drawing Daniel Radcliffe, you know, if I have time, maybe I will. But the idea is to look at these two and to see how their faces really differ. And this is going to help you get a more clear idea of how to exaggerate your main subject. So instead of that generic concept of the quote unquote average face, you're actually using a specific face. And I discovered this is actually a good technique when I had to do two people in a caricature. I would actually play off their opposite features, or the things that made them look different from one another. And it worked really well to make a really funny sketch. Like if I'm drawing a husband and wife, and one's really tall and thin, one's really short and squat. That's really funny to play off those opposites in a drawing. So the initial, I think, thumbnail sketch is where it really shows the difference and helps me create a more unique idea than I otherwise do than if I was just drawing a single person without any, which if, just referring to that generic reference again. So it's using a specific reference to bounce the idea off of. If that makes any sense.
No,
So
it does very much so. Yeah, like this is actually also the same way that I get other people to decide what we're gonna have for dinner. I don't because people can't often choose what they do want, but they can know what they don't want. So if you put forward some options, they'll go, "Nah, I don't want pizza. No, I don't want Chinese food." And so it's having the thing emerge as an opposition to something else. I think it's a useful exercise.
And so what I'm doing here is I'm going to do a really super quick thumbnail of Daniel Radcliffe. That's not going to be resolved at all, but it's just like sort of an initial idea of like what I might do with his exaggeration, just to get myself into the mindset of what his face, how I could exaggerate it as opposed to Morgan Freeman's face.
See, Carlos, the one who was talking about having done caricature for a while, they said when they drew couples, they would take advantage of this technique.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah, it's something that you come across in live caricature just probably more than anything, because you always have to draw couples and families and stuff, and especially if they're different ages, it's fun to draw their different head shapes.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you can remember those lessons, like when you see a father next to their toddler child, and you draw those differences, that's something that you'll carry forth into like another sketch in the future where you're just drawing a single child. You'll remember the lessons of drawing that family together. Like, oh, when I drew that baby to really make him look like a baby, I made his head really short, really round, blah, blah, blah. And now that's how I'm going to draw babies from now on. So drawing multiple people together is super, super helpful because of that, because it helps you when you're just drawing someone individually. It helps you develop better instincts for how to approach a person of a certain type, of a certain age or gender.
Mm-hmm. What do you do when you have a couple? And maybe this is a question for both you and this person in this chat. How did you choose to treat it when you had one of those couples come up who they're just dating someone who looks exactly like them?
I'll be like, oh, you guys related? They like that joke. No, not really. Yeah, no, that's a struggle for sure. But it never really happens that I can recall where people look so much alike that they're indistinguishable or the same face shape. Because when you get two people next to each other, their differences become much more obvious when you're really looking at them side by side.
Fair.
Okay. So yeah, I got what I think is a decent little, rough thumbnail concept of Daniel Radcliffe there. Doesn't exactly look like him yet, but the idea is that is what I would probably do with his exaggeration. So now I'm going to look at Morgan Freeman's face and see how he differs. So Daniel Radcliffe has almost like a scoop out shape here, like a shovel or something, where his chin projects out in front of him and his face is sort of sunken in and is more of a prominent forehead and hair. So it's this concave shape, but Morgan Freeman's face shape is a lot more convex in front, whereas he has a wider cheeks. The widest point of his face are his cheekbones. I would say high cheekbones as opposed to Daniel Radcliffe's lower cheekbones, and maybe a narrower jaw on Morgan Freeman.
It's interesting because they both have they have this kind of squarish kind of shape in some ways to their individual jaws, but then when you put them immediately next to each other like this, mm-hmm. they're squared off in very different ways. Morgan Freeman's is a much more rounded square, mm-hmm. where Daniel's is so much more pointy, even outside of having the facial hair that he does seem to shape. It's interesting.
Yeah, so if you're just looking at Morgan Freeman by himself and you're not quite sure, what is his jaw doing? Is it a square jaw? Yeah, it gets kind of a square jaw. Well, not compared to Daniel Radcliffe. Look how sculpted and squared off his jaw is compared to Morgan Freeman. So the differences become really, really obvious, and it helps you in your decision making. Mm-hmm. His forehead, I think, slopes back quite a bit more. They both have high foreheads as far as their hairline goes, mm-hmm. but it's just different. Morgan Freeman's forehead, his frontal areas just recedes more, space. So, and that's given that more of this, maybe an egg shape to his face than Daniel Radcliffe.
I do have a couple good questions for later once we've gotten into more of the establishing stages of this. There's a couple good questions. I appreciate these. Yeah. And one of my favorite things when people ask questions is that sometimes a person will ask a question that's clearly informed by them having thought deeply about what a person's already talking about in an educational concept. I like that a lot, rather than someone coming in an hour and a half into the thing and going like, what pencil are you using? I really like the deeper question. This is nice. Yeah, definitely already emerging the direction that you're choosing to take Morgan Freeman's face into. I think choosing to pull that middle portion of the face forward and exaggerate that round presentation to the front of the face, I think is a good choice.
Yeah. And I really like to, just as a sketching technique, I like to keep my pencil on the canvas and just keep it dancing and moving and gliding and not hesitating too much, because I just want this to be sort of a stream of consciousness type reaction to what I'm seeing. But I'm also constantly looking back at his photo and Daniel Radcliffe's photo and Daniel Radcliffe's sketch. I've got these different points of reference to make all these different decisions. I'm like, oh man, his eye strength, the features around his eyes are so different from Daniel Radcliffe. The flesh above his eyelids is very prominent, and of course the bags under his eyes. And then he has this prominent malar fat pad here that you can pick up on this other side as well. You know, the apples of the cheeks, sometimes people call it. And yeah, all the stuff is just becoming wonderfully obvious. The more that I get down on the page here, I can see, oh, okay, it's going in the right direction. It's feeling good. It's feeling good. But also got to take into account there are specific things to his, like the shape of his eyes. They're a little asymmetrical. I got to make sure I do that too. Or at least just the angle, they look kind of asymmetrical. Like there's more of an angle to the eye on the left than there is on the right here, where it's more of a downward sweeping heavy lid on the left than it is on the right. So a lot of things I'm sort of juggling in my mind here, all these different variables and anatomical reference points and the differences from the average, the differences between him and Daniel Radcliffe.
So for this particular exercise, do you not use any of the points from the previous thing that you had talked about where you have that checklist, or does purely the opposition against the other face that you've got here become something of the checklist?
Yeah, I'm not thinking in terms of a checklist at all here. I'm not referring to it in that sense, but I have, I guess, a visual checklist in the sense that I have this rough sketch of Harry Potter over here to judge it off against. So yeah, it is sort of like hitting on certain points. Like I'm gonna look at like how his nose differs from his nose, and then I'm gonna make that decision. Like, okay, Daniel has a downwards pointing nose. It's longer on his face than it is on Morgan Freeman's face. Like Morgan Freeman's nose is a little bit shorter relative to his whole face shape than it is on Daniel Radcliffe, and wider at the nostrils, and more of a change between the upward facing plane of the bridge of the nose versus the glabella. There's a big change right there in direction, more so because he has more of a heavy brow than Daniel Radcliffe, who has a more smooth forehead. He has thinner eyebrows than Daniel Radcliffe. Like his are going to be like, even more exaggerated probably, Daniel Radcliffe's. And then Morgan Freeman's are just, not non-existent, but they're definitely not as prominent of a feature on him.
Yeah, it's like just a dusting of an eyebrow. So maybe this is one that you don't think about, since you have, I think, more of a based in reality kind of style. But do you in any way, while you're doing a caricature of somebody, think about, let's say, historically problematic exaggerations?
Oh yeah.
To stay away from like minstrelsy and things like that?
Yeah. That runs through my mind every now and then. I mean, it's not forefront on my mind because I've never had a problem with, or no one's ever accused me of that, but at least that I know of. But yeah, it's good to be aware of the problematic sketches of the past where there were derogatory images of certain ethnic groups. just so you don't like accidentally fall into that trap. But I think what makes a person fall into that trap is just not being attentive to that person's individual features. Like
Mhm.
there are certain racial stereotypes, or not, I wouldn't say stereotypes, but traits that are in common with people from different backgrounds. And to ignore them is kind of doing a disservice to that person and who they really are. So those things, are true. There are certain nose types or forehead types or eye types that
Mhm.
are true to certain people of different areas. And if you want to diminish them, it's kind of almost more insulting because you're like, if you're a person like me, you're anglicizing them, you're making them look less of what
Sure.
they look like, and it's sort of like doing an ethnocentric caricature of them based on your own likeness, what you think is quote unquote normal.
Mhm.
And I don't like that idea. I think you got to honor the person and be true to their actual likeness. But even if they fit into a range of features that are common to a certain ethnic group. On top of that, they are an individual still, and they have differences from their neighbor or from their brother or their
Mhm.
sister, or so be true to who they truly are, and you're going to be fine because it's going to look like them no matter what, as long as
Yeah.
you're doing a real job and really paying attention. And so just honor the person that you're drawing, and just be honest with who they are and what they look like. And there's sometimes no escaping doing certain making certain choices that some might view as problematic, because you never know what your audience is going to bring into the discussion. Like they may have certain life experience where maybe they have had discrimination that they faced based on where they're from and the environment they grew up in. And
Mhm.
there's just no predicting that ahead of time, so you just really can't second guess what you're going to do, and just um, be sensitive but be true to your subject. And you do them a disservice if you try to soften their features in a way that you don't think is correct. You just really got to still go with your instinct, based
Yeah.
on your observation. And yeah.
Yeah, I like that. So at the end there, the thing you're saying is don't try to offset the thing. Even if you think that you could lean into something that might be problematic if it was done in a disrespectful way. The thing that you're saying is to be authentic to the person and don't try to like have that as a thing that you stay away from entirely. Just do what's true to them. I think that makes all the sense in the world. Is well said. I do think that we're in a stage where you're clearly doing work on this likeness, and it looks very much like him. Would you be okay with taking a couple questions?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right. So we had a question earlier. They were asking, how do you know you're exaggerating what's true about your subject versus what's not true about the reference? Like if your subject has an average nose, but the reference has a small one. So maybe some characteristic that was added or changed in some way by a camera lens type, um, or maybe just the particular angle, but that's what you're given.
Yeah, problematic photos, or photos taken with distortion in the lens, are the bane of my existence, especially with doing commissions for people who send me their own photos. They'll send me a selfie. And I don't know if you know this, but if you take a selfie so close with the wide angle lens, you're going to make it look like your nose is broader, your eyes are more far apart, and your ears will sort of disappear behind your head. If you look like that, it's not true to what you actually look like.
Yeah.
And it's actually less flattering, if you ask me, to send a selfie, when it's taken so close to your face. Have someone stand back like 10 feet and then zoom in, and then you're going to get a more accurate likeness for your photo. So yeah, that's one thing to watch out for. And I can sometimes see it in photos now. I can like say, okay, that photo's distorted. I'm going to ask them for another one. Because if they don't have ears at all in the picture, it means that they're using too wide of an angle, too close to the face.
Mhm.
And I don't know if that's what the person's asking about, just lens camera distortion. But yeah, I'm sorry, maybe I went off track. Can you actually repeat part of that question again, or the
Yeah. So
essence of
here,
it?
I'll go ahead and get that back here. They said, how do you know you're exaggerating what's true about your subject versus what's not true about the reference? Like if your subject has an average nose, but the reference has a small one.
Hmm. Yeah, so I was looking at lots of different photos of these celebrities that I'm drawing, and I there are some photos where they don't look like themselves. Like I found a bunch of like Aubrey Plaza. Depending on her makeup and her hairstyle, she doesn't look like Aubrey Plaza, like what I think of when I think of Aubrey Plaza, like from Parks and Rec, the TV show.
Mhm.
And so I really had to find the most quintessential photos of that person. So sometimes you do have to just find new photos or ask your client for more photos. If it's something where you know what the person looks like and you're supposed to work from one particular reference and it's just not ringing true to you, keep searching until you find a better one, because that's
Mhm.
what I have to do a lot of the times when I'm trying to do something for a job or a celebrity. Because yeah, a lot of photos will lie, and they'll have angles that are just not showing off their likeness in the best way.
Do you think that a person, so let's say the personality that you are inhabiting Court Jones's body versus the personality that I am inhabiting Court Jones's body, do you think that those different underlying behaviors would change how you would caricature a person?
I'm
Like
not sure.
if you, so like here, Christopher Reeve when he's being Clark Kent versus Christopher Reeve when he's being Superman, do you
Mhm.
think that the personality and the way that they're carrying themselves and
Oh, yeah.
everything else there, do you think that those two people would be different caricatures from you?
Yeah, very much so. Especially with, that's a great example of someone who makes themselves look very different based on their posture. Like Christopher Reeve did an amazing job of making himself look like Superman versus Clark Kent. It's just, he
Mhm.
really does look like a totally different person. In that one scene when he goes to like Lois's apartment in
You
the
go-
first Superman movie, where he's Clark Kent and he wants to tell her who he is. He takes off his glasses and all of a sudden he's Superman. It's like, oh my god, it's such a transformation. That can totally affect, yeah, for sure. So I mean, if you draw somebody on one day live and then they come back a few days later in a different mood, a different attitude, it might be a totally different caricature. Yeah, for sure. Because you're kind of capturing them in that moment, that time in life, whatever it is they're feeling. Because it'll show through on their face and their posture. And you might draw somebody with sunken in, hunched over shoulders on one day, or bright and happy on the next day, and they can be totally different and totally funny, and just based on their individual persona in the moment.
Mhm. We have a clarification from the person who asked that question earlier. I think that they were forced to try to truncate their question and lost a little bit of the meaning because of how long a YouTube comment can be.
Mm.
So there's a couple comments here from them. They said, what I meant was for this exercise specifically, where you're using another person to contrast your subject. Like if you're making your subject's nose bigger because the contrasting person's is small, is that really true to your subject? Do you think that you'll end up making
Oh,
something that is untrue to the subject because of the opposition? Or do you think that
yeah.
the opposition purely reveals what is authentic to that person you're caricaturing?
Yeah, I get it. It's like the idea of caricatures. You're exaggerating a subject off of the quote unquote average of whatever it is that you decide average is for yourself, and you want to maybe stick to that as a rule of like that's my basis of comparison. That's what I'm going to use to judge everyone's face off of. But does that mean I'm going to give like someone like Morgan Freeman differently shaped eyes than I normally would just because I'm opposing him to Daniel Radcliffe? I don't think so. No. I mean, maybe a little bit. I mean, the whole point of it is to get yourself out of the same box of repeating the same types of exaggerations that you might normally do. And it's to help you see the face in a new way. And when you're comparing someone directly against somebody else, it makes those differences or the thing that are unique about your main subject, like Morgan Freeman here, that much more obvious. And you might not necessarily arrive at those same decisions uh, doing a traditional style caricature, just drawing them by themselves. Um, and that's okay. It's okay to draw them differently in this exercise than you would drawing them just individually.
Mhm.
Because, like I said, the whole point of this exercise is to change up what you might normally do. And I don't know. I hope that's clear. It's like, yeah, it'll be different than if you were just drawing them singly or individually. But that is the point of the exercise to make up sort of a different make different choices that are still good looking or that still look like the person.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not going to divert you into an area where you're being untrue to the subject anymore. I don't think it's just going to make you make different decisions. And I can draw Morgan Freeman 10 different ways, and those 10 different ways can still look like him. It's not, there's no one right way that you can always draw him, and that's it.
Mhm. That was actually a question I was going to ask earlier. There was a person in the chat earlier. I don't know if they're here. During your Elvis drawing, the second one, they were saying that there's no space between the nose and the lips. And they were treating this like this was an incorrect thing. But in that sketch, it seemed like you were playing up the top half of the head while still having proportional relationships in the bottom half of the head that were true to each other, but you were exaggerating that top half a little bit more.
Yeah. And what I really see when I look at him is a nose that's really close to the mouth. And you may not see that, and that's totally okay. That's, in fact, that's great that that person sees it differently than me, because they'll get a different type of caricature than I would, and it could still totally look like Elvis. But it's not, we're not dealing with objective reality when we're doing caricatures. It's not like, hey, wait a second, that nose and lip relationship is wrong. I mean, it could be viewed as wrong if it doesn't look like the person, but you got to take in the gestalt, the whole thing. Like, don't look individually at if a feature works or not necessarily, but how they all work and play together. With that being said, it is important to draw their feature. Like, the nose should look like his nose. If you just frame, crop out everything but the nose, you should be able to tell that it's Elvis's nose, ideally. But the more important thing is how everything works together. Like I said, the gestalt.
I think, Court, I'm so happy we've both said gestalt in this stream so far. It's one of my favorite words.
It's like definitely a 25-cent word. That's makes you feel like really smart.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic one that I think. What other word does that purpose?
I mean, like, the Germans have like words that encompass concepts so nicely. You just have to go to them sometimes.
Yeah. Is Schadenfreude German? I
believe so.
Yeah, because Schadenfreude, also a word that that word needs to exist.
Mm-hmm.
So, thank you for experiencing words with me.
Yeah.
So it seems like is there anything that you want to say about this particular caricature and this exercise that you've done here in opposition?
Just that I'm looking at it, giving it a few seconds of breathing space on it, and I see I can't necessarily tell what it is that's a little bit off about it, but I would want to work on it some more, I think. But I don't know, like maybe the cheekbone, the cheek fat maybe a little low down here. Maybe raise it up a little bit. I don't know. It's one of those things I need to, I think, tweak and play with a little bit more before I'm really happy, before I would move it on to the next level. But again, that is sort of that's kind of what caricature is all about. It's iterative steps, and it's fixing things at each stage and making corrections, or maybe taking what's best about this sketch and doing another version of it right afterwards. But yeah, the opposition exercise here has served its purpose, I think, and it's helped me create an exaggeration that I might not otherwise have come up with if I was just drawing Morgan Freeman standalone by himself without like referring to anyone in particular. So
here.
Yeah.
So I'll go ahead. I'm going to put the next set of people into our chat. Can you describe what this next exercise is going to be?
Yeah, digital paint sketching. So what I mean by that is, instead of drawing with lines, you're drawing the concept with shapes, or shape sculpting, sometimes people call it, with paint. And I find it really helpful sometimes to get out of a rut. Like, if I'm really having problems drawing a certain face just linearly with my sketch lines, I can often get my thoughts down on paper faster and more efficiently with just blocks of shape, usually just tone at first. I'll just do like a black and white paint sketch rather than doing a pencil sketch. And digital is great for that. You could do it with traditional materials, but I think it would be a little slower and maybe counterproductive to do it with paints, unless you're just so familiar with acrylics or oils or whatever medium that you want. And you're maybe not familiar with digital, and that's okay too. The concept's the same, but digital allows you to really do it much faster and make changes on the fly, carving in and out of the shape, kind of treating the face as a lump of clay that you're roughly hewing, you're sculpting and shaping to find the likeness. You're sort of digging around for it rather than coming at it with any kind of a plan. It's more of a gut reaction to a person's shape more than an analysis of anything. So it's like really getting into the intuitive side of caricature, I think.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we have a pretty clear winner The vote so far. Aubrey Plaza has come out at 50%. The other two people just getting 25%. So the total options were Aubrey Plaza, Jim Gaffigan, and Patrick Stewart. And people want to see that Aubrey Plaza that you were talking about. You said you found a reference that is so quintessentially her. So I
Yeah.
guess we'll see it.
Yeah. So I got a couple here. I couldn't quite figure out which one to do. The one on the top one's just great, and it's like that eye roll.
Uh-huh.
But it's a little much, maybe. It almost looks like she's going into a trance. Like the one on the bottom is actually, I think, a better photo to work from. And I could make that into an eye roll caricature too by sort of referring to the top one. So I think I'm actually going to use the bottom sketch as my main reference, but then like refer to the top one just for a little bit of that extra zest in her expression.
This will be an interesting one because I would say that bottom one, the features are her. The eyes are like everything is there. The lips to nose and everything, the cheekbones. Seen from like viewed at scale where it's much smaller, it also looks a little bit like Mila Kunis.
Oh yeah.
So this will be an interesting one. I'll be intrigued.
You know, maybe I will do the top one then if you like think that's better, because sometimes
no, both are good. I think you combining the two is a great idea.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I'll start with the bottom one and see how that works out. Now, paint sketching actually, I think, works better with a more strongly lit subject than her, because the lighting on her is generally kind of flat. And since I'm sculpting with shapes, I just have value to be my drawing tool instead of lines. So honestly, I really wish people would have picked Patrick Stewart on this one, because he has like such great lighting, and I could really sculpt the shapes on that one. Or was Patrick Stewart in part of this poll? I can't remember.
He was, yeah. It was Patrick Stewart and Jim Gaffigan were the other two.
Yeah, and Jim Gaffigan has pretty good lighting on his too. That's the one I would have drawn of Jim Gaffigan. But
yeah, I don't know. People have something against Professor Xavier. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. No, I'm glad people picked this subject too, because I've done two men. It's good to actually throw a female subject in there too, to show how I might draw a female subject as opposed to a male.
Fair.
All right, so I'm on a new layer here, and yeah, let's go ahead and I'm going to get a big round painting brush here. Nothing fancy. It's just a brush that, that one has a bit of texture on it. I don't know if I necessarily need that.
There's a little bit of stipple to that previous one.
Yeah, this is just like a standard out-of-the-box Photoshop brush that I maybe did a couple tweaks to, and it's part of like the basic brush set. So I use this one a lot for shape sculpting. Okay, so I'm just gonna like start with a value. Let's actually start with like a middle value here. I don't want to go too dark, and use as big of a brush as I possibly can. Just reacting to her face shape, which I see is sort of just a little wider and rounded on the bottom, and narrower at the top. Sometimes I do these a little too big and I need to shrink them down. There you go.
We've all been there. That's the nice thing about digital.
Exactly. And I just basically attack the biggest shapes first, which to me are her head shape and her hair shape. So I'm going to get her hair blocked in as well.
Maybe this is a good time to remind people that we also have a pretty classic video with you where you talk about making something that looks like more believably realistic in painting in digital. It's a pretty good one. I think if you look up, like how to paint realistic digitally, it's one of the first videos that comes up in general.
Oh, nice.
So did I ever tell you that someone actually stole the concepts from that video? They basically just recreated that entire video one for one.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. No.
Yeah. Even the thumbnail, every single part of it. They just remade the video and then posted it.
Oh man, did you throw him in YouTube jail? How did that work out?
I mean, we went, like, I personally went and sassed him up in the comments just a little bit. Like, oh, this was a great video. I loved it when we made it too. But no, nothing more than that. I think that they ended up falling back on the thing about, like, I was just really inspired by. But I think having the entire content of the video and the thumbnail, I It was a swing and a miss content
Mhm.
wise.
Okay. And so she has these gigantic eyes, and one another exercise that might work for her is like I think the spirit animal exercise, where you find an inspirational uh, totem or whatever, not a totem, but something that reminds you of that person based on certain distinguishing features about them. So I was looking at pictures of animals with like giant eyes, like tarsiers and lemurs and chameleons with these giant buggy eyes. And she could have done, I think this would be a good one for like a spirit animal exercise. Not all subjects work well for that particular caricature exercise because they don't have enough really distinguishing or iconic about them. But she definitely does with these really expressive eyes.
Mm-hmm. I did like that. You have a video that covers that. Do you have a whole exercise, like you were mentioning, of choosing an animal as that first springboard into things? So you do
Mhm.
like a Snoop Dogg with, I think it was a lizard.
Yeah, he had really like a lizard type face, I thought. And I found a gecko or something or an iguana that looked like Snoop
Mm-hmm.
Dogg.
Yeah,
And you draw
because
that shape first. Um, and then it's like you're doing a caricature of an animal first, and then as a very rough outline, and then you try to make the person's features or head shape fit um, into that shape. And if you have to diverge from it, that's okay. But it's just sort of like a springboard to step off of, just to get you thinking about their face in a unique way to really heighten the exaggeration.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that particular exercise isn't good for everybody. I don't think for every subject. Just certain ones that really are very striking, like Conan O'Brien or Lady Gaga or somebody that has a really unique look that
Yeah,
you can find something that they make you think of.
yeah, because the alternative would be someone who has like an undefined face, and you're like, ah, but also they're a rat, and you're like, why are they a rat though? And you don't have the likeness. I guess like it's like a Morticia Adams kind of energy right now.
Yeah, yeah, she's definitely more sullen in this bottom picture.
The mini faces of April. I forget her last name. April, was it Ludgate? Oh my
Ludgate,
gosh.
yeah, that's right.
Okay. It's like a share kind of quality currently.
Hmm. Yeah,
Night
it's
in.
tough to sculpt here because she is so like not great lighting on her face here. There's this rim light over here that's a little bit helpful, but everything I do, all these sculptural, these tonal choices are going to be very, very subtle and not as contrasty.
In that situation, do you start pulling out your art knowledge about exaggerating and pushing and pulling the value ranges?
No, I mean I try to stick close to the photo. Like if it's a
Okay.
very what do you call it? Like a high key photo, I think it's called, where the lighting's very even across the subject. You
Hmm.
just kind of got to go with that because I mean I use the lighting reference points in my rendering. I can't really. It's hard. It's really hard to make up like low key lighting on a high key photo,
Sure.
like that film noir look or something with extreme shadows and highlights. If it's not there in the photo, it's like I don't know if I'm talented enough to actually completely change the lighting on this subject.
I get you.
And I don't recommend anyone really try that. You really gotta, if you're doing a certain type of lighting or shadows on a subject, you really got to stick to what you see in the photo. I think.
I think it's a thing that already has some pretty big foibles to it when you're trying to do it and then still even just recreate the realism of it, much less trying to also exaggerate and caricature the person at the same time. You thought your eyebrows were too high?
Yeah, I want to make her look a little more angry because she even her I don't know her personally, but she has this sort of persona in all the roles she plays where she's just kind of sassy and sarcastic and a little grim.
Yeah, I think she tends to lean towards this like what even if she likes the person, there's still this like playful antagonism, if not like full antagonism, that she carries with her. I think it's a good quality. It's good a good one to know about the person when you're doing a caricature as well.
So little happy accidents, I think, are what this exercise gives you. Like the little quick marks I made for the lips are not necessarily, I wouldn't have designed her lips this way if I was drawing them with lines. Because when I'm drawing with lines, I'm thinking a little bit more about structure and anatomy and how it quote unquote should look to be correct. But when I'm doing like this quick, just strokes of the pen, strokes of the paintbrush, sometimes I just do an accidental stroke or something really quick as a placeholder, and I kind of end up liking it.
Mm-hmm.
So my hand is constantly on the Alt key, the eyedropper tool, where I'm selecting colors that are already, or tones that are in the composition, and I'm going back and forth a lot. That's my main tool. I don't really go back to the paint swatch anymore, the color picker window, and that's something that keeps me drawing more quickly and allows me to draw more like stream of consciousness, just reacting to the subject rather than thinking about it too much.
Yeah,
that's the benefit of this drawing exercise. Is again, it allows you to draw a little bit more naturally from your subconscious and just your reaction to the subject rather than being overly analytical. So it may not be for everyone. I think it depends on your disposition, what exercises work best for you when you're doing these things. You may find that a linear approach is just much better for you. Maybe this type of thing isn't your bag, baby. It's just like doesn't work. So, I think if you're more experienced with painting in general, this is a good exercise to do. If you can think more in shapes and tones. But some people have a real problem with that, or making it look good, or they get frustrated halfway through the process because it's not coming out. So they're not maybe patient enough, and they don't have faith in the process yet, or faith in their own skills. But I've done enough of this that I think, even though it's at a rough stage that just doesn't look great, and there's like maybe some alignment or proportional issues with it, or perspective issues, I know it's something that I can fix. I'm going to be patient with it.
Sure.
And I may not be able to finish it or make it look perfect today, like in the course of this live stream, but I know that if I spend more time on it, I will be able to bring it out and fix anything that I think is wrong with it, or make the likeness better. I do have faith in the process. In other words, I have faith in myself.
Yeah, I am one of those people. I can't think in color blocks or blocks of value and things like that. I'm all contour. I have a sickness.
Well, and if there are people out there like that, and you want to overcome that supposed shortcoming, or if you see it as a shortcoming, I don't know, but if you want to practice it, this is a good way to do it. Or it's just do some shape carving and start on something simple like geometric shapes, spheres, eggs, maybe moving up to faces, or just invented heads and faces, and maybe not even without reference photos, because you don't want to put too much pressure on yourself to make it look like anyone. But most of us, have drawn the skull enough, the human skull or human faces, that you can create a prototype, human face from memory of different character types. And so it's definitely something to play around with, and don't maybe abandon it so quickly. Just maybe give it a shot and see if paint sketching or working in blocks like this or tiles of shapes might actually end up being something that you end up liking.
Yeah, I should give it another try. I mean, I do happen to know a course that's on sale for 20% off right now. That's all about caricature and has this in there. It's from legendary caricature artist Court Jones. You can find out more about over at proko.com/Court Jones. And you could even get his brushes that he's using. So if you mess up, you can't say that it's because you didn't have the same tool. It's about your knowledge. So go back to that well and hone your skill a little bit. I do like the way that you're bringing the stuff together, tying it down after the loose block in of it all. This is cool to see.
Yeah, the first part is just like it's so rough because I'm just trying to get a likeness and figure out the exaggeration. But then once you get a little bit more stuff in there, then it becomes more about, okay, let's actually refine it and make the anatomy look a little bit more realistic. I can use a smaller brush now, and maybe do some more cutout shapes, and define the features a little bit more accurately now that things are sort of working out. I kind of do like this, actually. I'm constantly asking myself, can I make these eyes any bigger? I'd really like to give her super big eyes. And I think I can, and I can maybe give her more of that eye roll too, like maybe push these pupils up even higher and see if that works, or if it just might look like she's again just having like issues or
seizure.
something, like going into a seizure. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's okay. It's I'm looking at the top picture of her now, with that that extreme eye roll.
It is interesting because there are different kind of eras to Aubrey Plaza, and I would say that like anyone does as they get older, some of the like baby fat and things that fill in more of the structure of your face when you're younger. She
Mhm.
had more of that, and then now you have more of the different like sharper planes of her face, more of the underlying structure,
Yeah,
with skin more like draped across those features. I think that's become more prevalent. And so I do think of her as having more going on under the eyes at this point. But then I look at this photo and I remember like, no, this was April Legate, That was
mhm.
Aubrey Plaza at that time. It's interesting to see.
Yeah, and I did look at that and I'm like, should I draw her now? She looks as older, but like no, this is like the way everyone remembers her, at least until she does more work, I guess. I don't know, but yeah, I'm doing younger version of her just because that's more her. Because when I looked at the photos of her more recently, it just didn't really look like her as much, and I'm like, I don't think the picture is going to come out as well if I do these pictures of her from present day.
Do you think that it's interesting because is it only because she is around currently and so she doesn't have these maybe it's different. I was gonna put forward this idea of her having one more kind of iconic version of her versus Elvis, who you did draw when he was younger also. But if you drew the older version of Elvis also, there are defined traits that people think of as these different generations of Elvis, and people know
Yeah,
them. So it's interesting to compare and contrast a person who just hasn't made this other era of themselves that people recognize in the same way.
yeah, exactly. Like Elvis was super famous throughout all those different eras where he looked so different after the weight gain and before the weight gain, and but she doesn't have that mass media exposure where we were just bombarded with images of her like all the time, so that we're super familiar with what she looks like today.
Mm-hmm.
Having lost the baby fat or whatever issues it might have been.
Mm-hmm. I do like you're doing some great work of balancing. I would say her younger and older qualities right now.
Mm.
The more of like it's not like necessarily like jowly, but there is a more pronounced line to the cheek to jaw area on her
Mm.
at this stage versus back in the day. And the like roundness of her face becoming more of a box. I think this is a good likeness. Corey, it's like you've done this before.
Well, I'm glad because again, these don't always work out on the first attempt, and then I get a little embarrassed, like, oh man, I'm an imposter. I don't belong here. I'm not a good kid.
Is there a name for this kind of like this area just below the lip where there'll be these two little masses kind of right here, like she's got?
Yeah, I think they're called the columella, like
Okay.
columns. I might be wrong on that. Or is that the pillars of the mouth? I think the pillars of the mouth are the upper part of the upper lip.
Let's see. I'm
Pillars are
trying.
columns. But is that what you mean? Like the area, like right, like
Is it supramentale? Supramental? Is that something? I'm trying to.
well,
Can you?
anything mental refers to the front of the chin. The mentalis is the
Okay.
muscle in the front of the chin,
But yeah,
and
just above that, these like little bumps. I most equate them with people who have braces in youth, and so things are kind of pushed forward there. But yeah, it's
so like
it's a good thing to pull out from her
like these
face.
spots right here. Is that
Uh
what you
huh.
mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, like they're definitely more pronounced or rounded, especially on younger people, I think, or people with braces or a pronounced dental arch.
Uh
They
huh.
really show the roundness of the dental part of the mouth for sure.
Someone in the chat here making a very good drawing a good line between this look and another thing. They're talking about the Battle Angel Alita live action movie.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely some shared characteristics here when they tried to bring the real world actress and get her proportions to be a little bit more like the anime version.
Mm-hmm. When I first saw trailers for that movie, I was like, "Is that Aubrey Plaza that they're using for that?" And it wasn't. It's a different actress, but definitely her type.
That would have been a wild movie, though. She's just in the middle of a fight, sassing somebody up. What do you think is key to this exercise versus someone doing communicating something purely with line, with contour? What are the things that you think you end up extracting more? Like, obviously there's more highlight, I would say, that you end up bringing into it because of you working exclusively with value ranges.
Yeah, it's yeah, you get closer to a three-dimensional type sketch as opposed than when you're doing a purely like a crosshatch sketch. But the main benefit of it, I guess, or the quality that comes out is I think it's more of a reaction to what I really see. I can think quicker in tones and shapes than I can with lines. So sometimes the fleeting image that I have in my head that I want to get down on paper, I can get it down much more quickly and resolve it more quickly with shapes. And that may not be the case. It may actually take me longer. I don't know, but it feels quicker to me. It feels more natural. It feels like an extension of my own psyche, putting it down on canvas when I'm dealing with shapes. So in that sense, I feel like it's more like intuitive way to design a caricature than with line, where line you tend to be a little bit maybe more analytical, and this is more of a gut reaction or an emotional reaction to the person, which sometimes just leads to like sort of a sloppy sketch where it's maybe the action or the perspective and the anatomy is a bit off, and maybe more so than in a pencil sketch. But that's not the point of it. I can always correct that in the next stage. I can always fix it by doing a tracing or flipping it back in reverse to see all the structural errors. I'll fix that. That's no problem. What I really want to find first is the essence or the true reaction to her likeness that made me want to draw her in the first place.
Mm-hmm. I have a question here again from Carlos Rue. They were asking, what's your remedy for same face syndrome or safe shapes for caricature? Many times I have felt like I already drew this head shape or face before, even though I'm drawing a new subject.
Yeah. Being aware of the problem is the first step, actually. And then a lot of people don't realize they do that. There are so many artists out there, especially who work live quick sketch, who just do more or less like rubber stamp caricatures, we call them, where there's a very similar face shape. And, and it's just sometimes those people are just working for speed and they don't care about exaggeration. They just want to get through as many people as possible. And I understand it's more of a business decision maybe than an artistic one. But if you really want to break out of those habits, you got to find out what your habits are. Like look at your collection of sketches or take photos of the people that you draw and say, okay, what are the things that I'm doing in common for all these people? Oh, everybody's getting the exact same face shape, or like a heart-shaped face or an urn-shaped face or a long-shaped face. Whatever it is you're doing over and over again, recognizing the pattern is the first thing. And then you have to physically or intentionally try to get away from that. Like find ways or find subjects to draw that help you break out of that habit. And it's not going to be everyone. Maybe every fifth person you draw will have a face that person has a really wide, short face, and I tend to draw faces too long and tall. So I'm going to give this person a really wide face. So sometimes it's just sheer force of will, just plowing through it and doing it that way. Or there's ways of tricking yourself, like I do with these exercises, like doing a spirit animal, thinking, does this person make me think of a toaster? Does this person make me think of a lemur or a dog or a cat or an ostrich? And draw that thing first. And then you're really going to get out of your comfort zone. And if you draw that animal or that object first, and then try to fit their face into that. You can't always do that in a live quick sketch situation. You just don't have time to analyze it that much. But if you draw, like if it is a quick sketch situation, maybe try drawing it in a different order than you normally draw it. Like if you're used to drawing the eyes first, like some people just draw the eyes first on a caricature when they're working live and they work their way out to the head shape. Maybe do it in reverse. Start with the head shape and work your way in, or vice versa. I'm a head shape guy most of all when I draw live caricatures. So I'll do the head shape first and then do the eyes. But lately I've been doing more of a hybrid where I'll do some of the face, but then I'll move into the face first before finishing the outer portion of the face. And I'll go back and forth. And I think that helps me a lot. Or doing a different angle. Like if you just do people from front views constantly when you're working on caricatures, try a little bit more 3/4 view. It's tough to transition if you haven't done a lot of it. But yeah, different face angles really, really helps a lot when you're doing live quick sketches.
Here. Do you want to take this particular this particular piece farther than it is right now, or would you prefer to answer a couple questions?
Well, I can do both, I think, actually. Yeah,
Okay.
let's go ahead and so this is what I would do to fix it. I would first probably flip the layer and to see where it's really off, and it's probably going to be really off when I do this. So let's see. Transform. There's probably a quicker way to do this. Where is it? Edit.
I think, yeah, some people, they flip the canvas with a hotkey.
There we go. Just flip horizontal there. Yeah, so I see her face is actually leaning quite a bit, and I didn't mean to do that. So let's actually fix that first. So I'll actually just get like do like a skew or a perspective transform here, and shift it back over to the left here. Yeah, let's just do perspective. Just lean that a little bit more, and then maybe skew. Bring down this left side a little bit because it feels a little too big on that side. Yeah, that feels a little more correct. Like I was unintentionally giving a lean to her caricature, and I didn't really mean to do that.
Get you.
And then what I might do now is actually dim it down and do a tracing of it, and trying to find ways to correct it along the way. And I'm going to go ahead and flip my reference photo too.
So you would continue to work on it in this flip state?
At least for this correction portion, yeah.
Okay.
After I do this part, then I'm going to flip it back. But yeah,
see.
this is part of my personal correction process. I'll do this because I can still really see some problems. Like, you know what, the cheek is a little too sunken in on the right side here. I want to maybe bulk that out a little bit more, or round it off.
This is cool. I like this part. This isn't one that we get too often.
Yeah, yeah.
In people doing live streams, I like that.
Yeah, with caricature, it's really, really helpful to see, again, how the sausage is made. This is like the correction process. This is just the iterations that help you really get the type of caricature that you're used to seeing from me when you're doing these this type of correction. So let's draw some alignments for the eyes, nose, and mouth here. Just some center lines. Actually, that could be a little bit further over to the right. There we go. And I can see the lips aren't maybe forward enough on the face. They're a little bit too much to the left. And I want to bring them out. Since it is a slight 3/4 view, the lips should come out to the right a little bit more. And there needs to be a little more space, I think, between the nose and this eye on the right. So I'm going to redraw this eye. And this is where I can do it linearly. The paint sketching portion is over. That's just the exercise to help me do the thumbnail. And then the rest of this is going to be like a traditional type sketch where I just draw with lines.
I will say, I guess I missed when you put the light in the eyes.
Oh yeah, I think you were talking when I was doing that.
That makes sense. Yeah, it's such a treat at the end of a piece. It's just little bing, and you're like, now they're alive. Do you find anything is a common theme across when you go to fix things for you? Do you, like, let's say, regularly have a skew, or do you regularly make something more squat? Are there any common traits across these?
Yeah, I do sometimes more often than not probably have some kind of skew, and it's not always the same direction. People tend to get a skew in their drawings if they're drawing too flat, if they're not using an elevated drawing board, because they're looking at it at an extreme angle, and you don't notice the skew where it goes like everything's going up and to the right if you're right-handed and if you're drawing on a flat tabletop. That's where I can always tell, oh, you're right-handed and you drew on a flat table, didn't you? And they're like, how did you know? And I'm like, well, you have an obvious skew to your drawing. It looked correct from that angle until you actually hold it up straight in front of you. That's not the case here because my drawing board is elevated. So it's just something that happens sometimes when I'm exaggerating, I think, where there's, just a lean to one side or another where it's a little bit off. The perspective's a little bit off. So, So I really always have to be a good policeman for myself and stay on top of it and not get too lazy and just, I always have to correct my rough sketches. I'm never like perfect right out of the gate.
Whenever I'm using a camera for pretty much anything, there's a trait that I have, or this bad mistake that I do, where I always think that the thing that I should be doing with the camera should be a little bit cooler of a color temperature
Mm,
than what it is in reality. Like there's just something where if I go to set the white balance on it, or even if I'm
mm,
coloring something for a piece that I make, if I was trying to recreate what was there in real life, it's just going to push more cool. It's it's
mm,
something that I have to work against, and I still feel like, but the cooler version is better. Yeah, it's I think knowing the things that you tend to do, like your worst characteristics while making
mhm.
something, I think is a very good thing. Uh, we have a question that I think could lead to some interesting answers from you. This person in the chat had asked, "What if we make irises of the eye bigger?"
Like in this particular sketch, he thinks the irises should be bigger.
No, they're just asking what if. But let's say for this one, if you did make the irises bigger, which I don't think is possible because this is entirely like the whole eye is dark.
Mhm.
But if do you think that there is there anything that you would say that would make you want to avoid having a bigger iris?
Yeah, I mean, if you do a bigger iris, or basically make the colored part of the eye take up more space in the eye opening, it's going to make them look more like a child. It's going to make them look younger. It's going to give that Disney look,
Mhm.
because children have these giant pupils and irises inside their eyes, whereas she's like, an older adolescent in this picture, or a young adult, and she has so much of the whites of the eyes are really what makes her eyes read as her. So I think if I did that on her in particular, it would make her look too young. It would give her that chibi look or something, or a
Sure.
kawaii or something.
Yeah.
And that, for any sketch you're working on, that's what it's going to do. I think it's going to, I could do it right here. It's like if I were to do that, it just makes it look, like I said, like a more of a younger person. I don't know. It's just not appropriate for her, I know, and
Yeah.
it might be appropriate for the subject you're working on. I don't know, whoever it is you're thinking of, but just, yeah, little things you do have a big impact. Like any choice you make in caricature is going to be a signal to the viewer, something you're trying to say about that person, or about their age type, or something like that. So you got to be real
Mhm.
careful about those choices. Even if you see them as having big eyes in general, it has to be age appropriate. Even if they have big eyes, it's going to be like, Emma Stone has big eyes, or they're almost like bulgy eyes too. You got that they have really prominent lower lids and upper lids. So Emma Stone's big eyes are different from her big eyes. She doesn't have like prominent bulging eyes like Emma Stone. Then she just shows a lot of the whites of the eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, like even someone like Elijah Wood, who is well known
Oh, yeah.
for having larger eyes, and so much of his eyes are taken up by the iris. I still would say, like, if you were drawing young Elijah Wood, you would play that up in spades. But now, Elijah Wood, not so much. But you still would make his eyes generally larger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as people get older, their eyes get smaller relative to their face, and when they get like older, like they just tiny little eyes compared to the rest of their face. So I'm going to flip this back here and flip this back, and
How do you feel now that you flipped the flipped?
I think it's pretty good. But it's a little, now it's just a little crooked. I'm just going to like rotate it back this way a little bit. Just felt a little off balance as far as that goes. Yeah, so I would definitely refine this sketch. This is a rough sketch again. So I would spend some more time like fiddling with this, making the anatomy look correct. Yeah, and I mean, I could even just do more painting on top of it to fix some of these things, like start to actually bring it back to a three-dimensional reality again. But yeah, I think when you go back to a linear drawing, you sort of lose some of the quality of likeness that you saw in the paint sketch, because
Sure.
values really help sell a likeness, like seeing the different plane changes, the different values.
Yeah, maybe
So
can we put the two side by side
yeah.
for people to see? Because there's so much information in the value, like you were saying, like around that like more like the apple of the cheek, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of information that's lost in a linear sketch. unless I do more cross hatching to bring it back out. So in a sense, it's kind of like it's taking a step back in likeness, but I can get back to it if I want, just by, just I'm going to sample some values from here. I don't know how much time we have if you want to like spend more time doing this, but I can sort of bring it back to that rough painted phase, I think, in just about 5 or 10 minutes here.
Oh, that's perfect. That's exactly the amount of time that we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I can take some other questions too if you want during this time, if people have them.
Yeah, so there was a question earlier from pretty early on asking if you consider rhythm when deciding on the form and the lines when you do a caricature.
Yeah, rhythm meaning like abstraction, like Riley abstraction rhythms, I guess. Is that
that's a good question. I don't know how they meant that. This was during you were making a line drawing at that point. They might mean that, or they might just mean rhythm of like, let's say like the swing of the hair on her in this particular image, if you go and try to play that up, or if you let it just hang naturally.
Yeah,
so it's up to you if you choose.
Well, I wasn't doing Riley rhythms at all on this, as you saw. That's just another technique to help fix a drawing, where you're just trying to make the features align with each other more correctly. So you'll draw rhythms from one side of the face to the other, like to make the eyes match. I'll do, this eye rhythm here, an eye rhythm beneath it, and there's a muzzle rhythm to make things line up there. So yeah, no, I wasn't definitely doing that at all. And if I were, I think the structure might be a little better. But yeah, no, so I wasn't at all.
Okay. And then a more recent one for this particular piece. Someone in the chat asked, what if you made the nose tiny, the lips fuller with large eyebrows?
Then it would probably look like someone else.
Yeah,
I think it might, it might work, but these are the choices I made for this particular drawing. And if I were to start changing individual things here and there, it would throw the balance and proportions off from the other areas of the face. So it might not work out. Like, people may see things in this that they would do differently themselves, and that's great. But yeah, I kind of would have to start again with those changes in mind. Because once you start changing individual pieces now, you're gonna it's gonna throw off the whole. It's gonna throw off the gestalt of the likeness if you like do a la carte changes to a caricature.
Yeah, I would also say I don't know about the notion of ever giving her larger eyebrows. I think her thin eyebrows are a pretty defining characteristic.
Yeah.
But like you said, you can choose to play pretty much anything up as long as you make it have a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, you can make lots of different choices work. Thick eyebrows could work on her, maybe. Not in this sketch though. I don't think it would come out very well. Because I don't see her as having thick eyebrows. They're very manicured, pretty thin, especially when compared with like Daniel Radcliffe's eyebrows, which are much more bushy.
Opposition.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting to see this new version here. I like the previous one, but I know that a portion of why I like it is that it's already rendered, so it feels realistic,
Yeah.
And I think for something that's done in a value structure, it's very different than when something is done with this like linear structure. Because I think if something is unfinished and it's more linear, I feel at the very least that I participate in that kind of like the decoding of what those lines mean. But then if something is like a incomplete or in the process, just pure value blocks, I don't look at it and go, yes, there will be a shadow there. There will be a highlight there. Like, I think that a fully complete rendered piece that's not linear is more satisfying than an incomplete one. Whereas a sketch, I can still enjoy looking at a loose sketch. I use a lot of words in there to not say much, Court Jones.
Well, that's why you're a good podcast host.
Ooh, no. Bad. I have too many filler words. I can't watch anytime I do an intro on these because I say too many ums. Kills me.
Yeah, I'm conscious of my ums too, so I usually just end up pausing more than trying to get
it's the safer choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I will recommend again for anyone who wasn't here earlier, who's just tuning in live to this. If you like anything that you see here, where he's tackling this piece that is supposed to be more simplified, but there's still some rendering to it. We do actually have a couple videos on the channel where Court does talk about rendering. So please go check those out, even if you can't buy a course, even though they're 20% off right now for a limited time until this weekend. Please check out those videos, see the wisdom that Court has to share. You don't have to buy something. It's just cool when somebody does. So thanks for being here, guys.
Well, it helps support us and helps make more courses for you guys. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. Speaking of which, again, Court does have that whole course that will be coming out later this year that is about facial anatomy. He's hot off having worked with doctors and talked about facial anatomy structures and everything. He's got wisdom to share. The man's literally building like models with the musculature on the skull for the course. It's going to be an in-depth one.
And facial muscles are very different from skeletal muscles of the body. They're not, there's no like form to them. There's no bulk. They're not about moving your limbs. It's more about just facial expressions. So understanding the anatomy of the face really, really helps with facial expressions and drawing them more convincingly. So that's the main benefit of knowing facial anatomy.
Yeah.
Because then you can exaggerate and draw expressions just better and more believably, whether you're like an illustrator or working in animation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like the difference. Go ahead.
No, that's go ahead.
I was just gonna say, because there's those times early on in CG where you'd have a character who's supposed to look like a particular person, and they spent so much effort and time into 3D scanning the person's face. And then when they took that into whatever program and had to do some sort of deformation on the face, it wasn't based in the physical reality and the underlying musculature of the face.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd end up with this like uncanny valley freak boy monster. And I think knowing those underlying structures applies just as much to that as it does to when you're making something that's rendered with a brush.
Yeah, there's so many people that are really good at doing just a head drawing, a head study, because that's what you do in art school all the time. But how many models actually do facial expressions for you? None. So nobody ever gets practice doing facial expressions. You're just kind of on your own. So when you go into a field where you have to be like an illustrator or a comic artist, where you're trying to tell a story in, all you can do is a neutral posed face, and you're really uncomfortable with anything else, you really need the facial anatomy and have experience with drawing facial expressions. And there are certain traits for certain facial expressions that make them read as that expression. Like fear is different from sadness, and there's particular hallmarks or landmarks on the face that have to happen. There's certain changes that have to happen, and if you draw them wrong, it won't look like fear, it won't look like sadness, it'll look like something else. And so it's really important to know those differences and what the traits are of different expressions.
Indeed. Though I will say, in some situations where you just don't know how to draw fear, I think that might actually still work for a person. Like for Morgan Freeman, for example. I don't think he's ever been afraid of anything a day in his life. So you'll never have to draw that expression. It's fine.
Although I should say, I don't know if the facial anatomy and expressions is coming out later this year, because there's a lot more to do on that course. I've been working on it for a while.
Sure.
But there's still a lot to do. I think my mini course is actually going to come out before then.
Okay.
Studying the masters.
Okay. I see. Yeah. I had asked about the upcoming course and everything to a couple different people. So maybe there was some mixed messaging about that one.
I'm not sure which ones we can talk about right now. So don't ask me.
Yeah. The good news is there's multiple courses coming from Court Jones, guys. It's a windfall of Court Jones courses.
Yeah. Non-caricature courses coming out.
Indeed. Yeah. So for those two, both of them, obviously we'll post about them when those things are actually available. We'll put forward some free lessons, some other things like that. Or you can follow Court Jones on socials, because they will get posted there. Even though he doesn't post a ton, something about those will get posted there. That's the good news.
I am so bad about posting to social media and keeping people updated on what I'm doing.
It's not a bad thing necessarily, because if you don't post for a while, if you do come and post online again, sometimes they get that little notification that says Court Joan posted for the first time in a while. Want to see it?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, at this point, I'm just kind of noodling around. I could be, doing this for like the next couple hours to bring it out, and it's still, of course, in a really rough stage. But I've been pretty happy with the direction that it's headed. It feels like her, and it's got that kind of an eye roll expression a little bit. I can maybe make that a little bit more, tuck those eyeballs, those pupils under there a little bit more. But yeah, that's the general sense of like how I would work on a digital paint sketch and bring it up to the next level. And it needs more work, but that's the general idea: is you refine it at each stage, and then you get to a finish that's a little bit more rendered and polished.
Yeah, this is cool to see. I like that the arc of this whole stream has been you showing a couple different exercises, and this one where some of those things are still in there, but not in as bespoke of a way as those previous exercises individually. They're super useful to get to see. So if you guys are interested, you liked anything that you've seen here, and you've made it all the way to the end of this, even if you just went from the beginning of the stream to the end of the stream to try to see how it was rendered and how it turned out, you're now on the hook. You have to buy a course. It's 20% off right now if you're watching this before the end or the beginning of July, because it's on sale until July 6th, I believe. Or maybe you just reach out to us at Proko and you say, I saw this stream a long time ago. They said it was 20% off, but when I looked at it now, it's not 20% off. If you sweet talk us enough in an email in the contact letter form, maybe we'll give it to you for that anyway. You guys should follow Court Jones.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say there's a lot of content in the premium version of the course. We have a lot of it on YouTube, of course, but the premium course has like, I think 130 different videos between all the demos and lessons and critique videos. So there's a lot of content in the premium caricature course.
Yeah, let's see here. There's the information on the page itself. Yeah, so 131 lessons, 32 freaking hours of this. And you know it's good because there's been 5.5 million views of this thing as well. So it's not like it's just a thing that we put out. We say there's a lot in it and no one cares because it's no good. It's something that has been proven and tested with time. So I recommend it. I hope you guys like it. Court, what message do you want to leave people with today?
Well, if you're not sure if caricature is for you, I think just my answer to that is pretty much all art is a form of caricature, because all that means is you're just changing your subject a little bit, whether it's for comic purposes or to make them look like a buff superhero for that purpose. You're caricaturing the subject. So caricature just means you're taking control of your subject and changing it to suit your needs. And caricature, the way I teach it, is basically for humor and to heighten the likeness. And that comes in play a lot as an artist. You can get a lot of work doing caricature type stuff, and it's just fun. So, I mean, even if you don't plan on doing caricature as a career, I didn't when I was younger. I just kind of fell into it and ended up just liking it a lot because it was fun. It's a fun way to make a living. And it's something fun to do on the side if you're not, going to make it your living. It's just something kind of just cool and to do that can help affect your work in positive ways. It's just getting more control of your subject matter when you draw, I think, is always a good thing. And caricature helps you be more confident with looking at someone and changing it to suit your needs.
Well said. Yeah. Turns out art is art. So thanks so much, Court. Thanks for hanging out here. Thanks for hanging out this past weekend at Stan's birthday party. It's good to get to see so much, Court. And I will see you